Welcome to Feedback, G4TV.com's weekly wrap-up of everything awesome in video games. It's episode 9 for the week of September 14th. I'm Billy Berghammer, editorial director of gaming for G4TV.com, and your host for today's show. And this week's Feedback, we welcome back Patrick Klepek.
Hello.
Also Steven Johnson.
Hey, everybody.
And new to the program, Abby Heppy, editorial manager of XPlay.
Hello.
Hi, I'm glad you're finally on the show.
I know, it's exciting.
Been waiting to have you, so thanks for coming. And on this week's show, per usual, 3 top news stories. Shane Kim retired this week. Also, Microsoft is not going to release new hardware until software demands it. And Bobby Kotick from Activision kind of went crazy. And I'm just going to leave it at that. We'll go into that later.
Surprise.
This week's reader question talks about the looming holiday season and kind of which platform is going to do the best and has the best lineup. And then our game of the week, we decided to do a twofer this week. We have 2 kind of for rock music.
That sounds kind of disgusting.
A twofer?
It's a little disgusting.
Really?
Podcast filthy, I'm leaving.
Did you ever listen to a radio station that we got 2 for Thursday?
I'm dropping off a twofer.
With a double shot of Deep Purple.
Yes, but we have 2 games of the week this week. We are doing Rock Band Beatles and Guitar Hero 5, which I think go nicely. They complement each other quite well. So let's start with the news. Patrick.
So kind of the executive shifting musical chairs game this week is that Shane Kim, who was at Microsoft for 19 years, is the head of Microsoft Game Studios. Around last year, he announced that he was moving to more of an executive role within Microsoft Game Studios, kind of taking a step back. And Phil Spencer, who I believe previously had been in charge of Microsoft Europe, it was kind of assumed Shane Kim's role. And Shane Kim announcing that he's retiring at a very early age because he's been there for 19 years. It was signaled last year. This isn't really much of a surprise when he stepped back and Phil Spencer moved forward. Like that was kind of a signal that Shane Kim was going to be stepping back and kind of shepherding Phil Spencer into this role. But I don't know. This doesn't impact you too much as a gamer. Like the kinds of decisions that are being made are on a very high level. Phil Spencer and Shane Kim, the kind of decisions that they make are very long terms, long form in terms of where the direction of Microsoft Game Studios is going. So, I liked Shane Kim. I interviewed him a number of times. Phil Spencer is also very cool, but as a gamer, you really don't need to care about this.
One of my favorite faces of Microsoft was Shane Kim, so I'm personally bummed. I loved interviewing him. Had one of my favorite Tokyo Game Show interviews.
I do think that, in the interest of disclosure, Billy, you do need to share how you outed Shane Kim in an interview you did with him.
Well, and he always gives me crap about this interview, but I called him out on something during Tokyo Game Show. He was talking about, we did our press conference at TGS, and one of the big announcements was we showed that the fact that Resident Evil 5 is coming to the Xbox 360. And for some reason, Shane Kim didn't realize that they announced that already, like a year ago or at E3. And I'm like, no, that's not new news. And he's like, yeah, it is. I'm like, no, it's not. I was at the E3 that they showed it at. And then I decided to leave that in the transcript of the interview. And I forget someone said it was the top 10 bumbles of PR for that year or whatever. I don't know. But Shane Kim never let me live it down. And we still get along. He's a great guy. And I'm sad that he's leaving because I really enjoyed, working with him at Microsoft. But I'm also curious to see what the future of Microsoft Game Studios is, because they have lost a lot of what had comprised Microsoft Game Studios. So I'm really hoping they just, that they're planning on building this up a little bit more.
If you follow the path, and this leads into kind of something we were talking about before we started filming about Microsoft announcing a hardware bundle with Activision for Modern Warfare 2, is that a big thing that Microsoft Game Studios has done is, instead of having a massive, huge first-party development making a lot of their own games, which is what Sony and Nintendo largely do, they're just having key partnerships in different areas, things like Epic Games, like having Gears of War, with Activision getting together to make a box for Modern Warfare 2. Like, they just have strategic even Bungie now. They don't own Bungie, but they're still working with Bungie. Like, Microsoft's approach in the last couple of years has actually been to distance themselves from doing everything and instead having key relationships that just get them to do everything for them. But, and then the other thing related to Microsoft this week is that Microsoft announced, not announced, but in an interview with Develop Magazine, Phil Spencer, we were just talking about, said, everyone keeps asking them like what they want to do with their next piece of hardware, and essentially they've said in interview after interview that Project Natal is their next piece of hardware. And so the quote that I'll throw out there, Phil Spencer said, is, in terms of putting more hardware in the market, what else can we do? Put more memory in it? I don't think that's enough. We like where we're at with the box. 360 currently has a great price point. Consumers don't want another $400 box right now. We instead want consumers and developers to know that we are going to make a huge return on that original investment in the hardware, the one Microsoft made in building it, the one developers made in making games for it, and the investment consumers made in buying the console. In the current climate, that's something people are going to appreciate much more.
I totally agree. I can't imagine spending more money on a new console anytime soon. And I don't think they have any competition really to do that. The PS3 isn't pushing for a new console right now. The Slim, is the new thing. And since there's no competition to do it, I can't see them doing anything console-wise for a long time.
It's totally true. Nobody would buy it anyway. And I don't think anybody sits down and sits in front of a PS3 or a 360 and thinks, oh, the graphics aren't good enough.
Yeah. Or what can't it do now? It's,
well, developers have still said, they continue to say that they still haven't maxed out these consoles yet. The PS3 is finally reaching, it's getting its stride.
Exactly. It's the PS3 is like just starting to take off. Why would you push into another console, cycle? It'd be ridiculous.
Well, I find it really interesting because me and Adam were talking about this at the Modern Warfare event last night, that this is the first console cycle that's going to break the 5 years in a very long time, especially coming from a company like Microsoft, who they shattered it immediately, pushing first with a 360.
Well, I mean, it's an admission that what Nintendo sort of proved with the Wii, just being that it's not a graphical arms race anymore. Like we're reaching a certain edge where a new console isn't going to achieve that much more of graphical fidelity. It's more about what you do with the console. And Natal is an admission of what Nintendo did right with the Wii, is that Natal gives them a chance, and how they've position Natal is that this is a console reboot. Like, they might do a redesign or it's a new marketing campaign. They're treating Natal as Xbox 720 or Xbox 362. This is their attempt to do that by just changing the perception of what you think the box is. So, I mean, you've seen that with the new Xbox experience, adding Netflix, adding Facebook and Twitter. It's about adding service and changing the perception of the box, not introducing a new box.
Now, Steve, you said that if somebody put out a new console, nobody would buy it, but would you buy a Wii HD?
No. I would not. Only because I bought a Wii and it sits gathering dust in a closet. And it's not because the graphics aren't good enough. It's not because it doesn't look good enough. It's just because the games are not to my liking that have come out by and large. So, no.
Okay. Curious.
Well, even with the games that come out, it just lacks the kind of community that I have built around my Xbox and my PS3 too. The whole friends list and having to put in friend codes and everything is just so inhibitive to me right off the bat. I need to see what my friends are playing, who I can join, even just to see what they're playing, so that maybe we can talk about it in a future conversation, maybe that we won't even play together.
Yeah, I'm like the creepy guy that as soon as I turn on, I see what my friends do,
Yeah.
even if I don't send them a message. But I mean, that's the thing. Like, Xbox Live, like, for me, is like my Facebook of games. Like,
Yeah.
I just like to go on, see what my friends are doing. Mm-hmm. And it's, in a smaller part on PS3 just because I don't play as many multi-platform games on that. But those are my Facebook of games, and the Wii makes it very difficult to do that. So because I don't have an incentive to turn it on even when I'm not going to play games, it's only when I've got this brand new, Mario Galaxy 2. Of course, I'm going to bust out the Wii and I'm going to play that. But other than that, like, I don't go to that machine as, what am I doing right now? I guess I'll just turn on my 360 and see what's happening. Like, I don't necessarily turn it on with a purpose.
It's funny to me that they're adding, like, Facebook and Twitter, into all that, which, first of all, I hate that idea so much, because I get so annoyed when I see people's, like, Raptor things of, I unlocked this achievement. I don't care. If I cared, I would log on, I would look at your profile, and I would say, oh, hey, you got this. And the fact that I do use it so socially, and I will video chat with my friends who live on the East Coast, and I get messages from people on there, and I use it as this kind of social tool already. And I love seeing what people are playing. If I can't do that on the Wii, and I don't have that immediate access to what everybody is doing, I kind of don't want, I don't want any part of it. And I understand, I have a gold account. I play online all the time, and not everybody has that. Well, then great, get a Wii. But for someone who's a really social gamer, who's an online multiplayer gamer, it doesn't work for me.
All right. Bobby Kotick.
Yeah, Bobby Kotick, the CEO of Activision Blizzard, who's a constant goldmine for headlines and comments to upset people. He was talking at a financial conference in San Francisco this week, and GameSpot was listening on to it. And he dropped a couple of notable quotes that people have been talking about. We'll address the the first one being that he this is one that really pissed a lot of people off. And he said, "We have a real culture of thrift. The goal that I had in bringing a lot of the packaged goods folks into Activision about 10 years ago was to take all of the fun out of making video games."
How demoralizing.
Seriously, if you had a boss
Totally.
that said, I want to make your workplace not fun. I want this place to suck.
And especially when you're making fun for people.
And that was
you're
my goal.
making people's fun. And then to have him say that, it's so demoralizing. It just makes me sad. I feel like if I worked there and somebody said that, I would probably just go home and cry.
Well,
The other thing is, hey, Bobby Kotick, we can tell. Thank you.
the thing is though that like, he comes across as like not very likable, especially or fostering a lot of creativity. But Bobby Kotick, like if you follow the way he talks, like he treats games as like games industry as an Excel spreadsheet. He looks at numbers.
Definitely.
He makes all of his decisions based on numbers. This reminds me of a story how in the 90s, Rivers Cuomo, the lead singer of Weezer, decided that he has an encyclopedia of pop songs. You can break down pop music into a math formula, and you can just plug in things, and you can make something that's popular. And that is exactly what Bobby Kotick does with video games. Look at Guitar Hero. Like he looks at it as a spreadsheet, and he finds ways that he can multiply that and divide it and find other ways to get people to pay money, and that's what he does, and he says it publicly. He's not ashamed of it.
That's when it's a good time to bring in the second quote.
Exactly,
too.
and so he also said, I think what the untethered Guitar Hero does is equal the playing field a little bit more and gives you some leverage with first parties, Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, when it comes to downloadable content and the business model for Guitar Hero going forward. And the idea that you could go into a Walmart or a Toys R Us and those games that you would plug into a TV that just have a composite
Like
cable.
Pac-Man?
Yeah, like I think that's essentially what he's saying he'd like to do with Guitar Hero, and that's actually probably a smart idea.
Yeah, because
It is.
one of the biggest barriers of entry is you need a console. So you need $300 or $400 or a Wii to start that whole thing up, and then with minimizing that completely and just having that tether thing, and I don't know how they would do DLC,
I
but
think
whatever.
it's a smart, for a casual person, for, like Adam and I were joking this morning, what about the people who bought Beatles Rock Band and then realized, oh God, do I need something to play this on?
Yeah, like
know?
on QVC, they were selling Beatles Rock Band, but it wasn't bundled with an Xbox or anything. So
Right.
you probably got these people purchasing a Beatles Rock Band thinking, yeah, I do just plug this into my TV.
And while I think it's a smart business decision,
put this thing in the
feeding what
VCR.
you said, I would not play that. I would not. I don't think it would probably live up to the quality that I would expect from one of those titles, and I wouldn't play it. You're going to do the same thing to me that Nintendo did, which was get me, take something that I really like and or love, and then make me not care about it anymore.
No, but
That's true.
I can see this also have being smart with the Beatles in so much as I don't think they expect to do like a full Guitar Hero that they would sell as a smaller separate package good. But imagine if it was Guitar Hero with 5 songs and you plugged it in and it said, hey, if you want the full Guitar Hero, you do need to go get an Xbox or a PS3. Like, I think that would have been cool with Beatles. Like the idea that like you sold a guitar that came with a song or two that you plugged into your TV, but if you need it, like this isn't what you have to use. Like you need to go out and buy something. Like I think there are ways that could get people over the barrier or understanding why they need to buy a console.
The price point would have to be at least $100 right there.
Just to include those things.
Does it
It's
have
true.
HDMI output?
Yeah, it just
Yeah.
sounds like a nightmare.
I wonder why he's not like the head of a bank or like an arms dealer
I know,
or
why?
something. Like why in video games if this is your attitude? He's like I don't want it to be fun. So okay, go do something like accounting. That's not fun.
I know he was talking to Deutsche Bank or something like that,
Yeah.
and great, but talking about things like that with your about your company and like making things not fun. First off, A, that's going to get back to your employees, and B, it's going to get out to gamers because people press.
Are you
outlets are gonna be
As I
picking
said,
it
Are
up.
you insinuating people aren't going to buy Modern Warfare 2?
No, people obviously are going to, but as someone who is a manager, you try to keep your employees happy. At
Yeah.
least some people do, I guess.
Well, as I said, it's just demoralizing. I mean, it makes sense for him to say the thing about untethered Guitar Hero. I mean, that's a business strategy that makes sense. But it's almost just mean. The quote about the not being fun. Like you don't have any real reason to say that. That you don't need to tell people that. Keep it to yourself. Tell your friends. You don't need to say it in a forum that is going to get back to everyone.
Is there any chance that he was joking, like that he said it tongue in cheek? I
Not
mean,
really.
we haven't
I
actually
mean,
heard the audio.
It was. I mean, only about a month ago that he made this comment was a bit tongue in cheek. The one about like if I could raise the prices on video games, I would.
Right.
And I mean, Bobby Kotick puts his balls on the table. Like he knows that he has the franchises you want. He has the games you want. You're going to buy the games you want, and he owns the companies that makes those. So if he's demoralizing to his employees, yeah, is that sad for an Infinity Ward that like I think a lot of us would like to see flourishing somewhere else? Sure, but they've got a sweet deal. They own the company, and like it's just he can do it, so he's going to, and it makes for a fun discussion. But I don't think it's going to change, and he really has no incentive not to. The numbers are certainly not showing that he needs to.
Yeah, Activision's
Build a
doing just
profitable
fine.
company.
He doesn't care if we're like, wow, man, that guy's a dick.
I'm going to play devil's advocate, though, and say that you really can tell that at some point, if you have people that are miserable making your video games, at some point that's coming through. At some point, it's not going to be as fun for you, the consumer. Like, it's the difference between Rock Band and Guitar Hero. Like, you can
will
feel
that
it
make
when you're
people
playing Rock
stop
Band.
buying those franchises? Probably
No,
not.
but
that's
I'm
the
just
thing.
being
Like,
a hypocrite.
I agree with you on like a moral level, a kind of
Yes.
human level. I think
Right,
we're on the
right.
same page. But when it comes to like someone going into the store, they don't care.
I'm just
And-
thinking about
You're
his
right.
holiday card that he gives his employees. It's like, Merry Christmas, jerks.
Stop
Thanks.
having fun now.
I would like to see that holiday card.
Walking through the offices, finding anybody that's like looks like they're having a degree of fun, and just tapping them with a stick or something.
Yeah.
I don't
Are
know.
you playing video games? Well, it's kind of my job. Okay.
Okay, fine, but just don't enjoy
You
yourself.
don't have fun when you're doing it.
Yeah.
All right, so that's enough on Mr. Kotick. So time for this week's reader question. It comes from Shinobi Fox. Steve.
This is from Shinobi Fox, or as I like to call him or her, Shino by Fox.
Nice. I like that.
The question is, who do you feel has the strongest lineup going into the holiday season? And I feel that nobody does. I feel like it's a very weak holiday season, but if I had to pick somebody, it's really tough for me to pick because there's just not all that much that's coming out that's super exciting to me.
If you're looking at just first-party releases, because their third-party lineups across the board are stellar.
Oh, terrific, terrific. I'm just talking about the first-party releases. I mean, Nintendo was putting out Wii Fit Plus and Super Mario, which is awesome, Super Mario, and
Spirit Tracks for DS.
and the Spirit Tracks for DS, right? And the PlayStation is coming out with Uncharted 2
And Ratchet and Clank.
And for the 360, there is, what was the racing game that's coming out?
Forza 3,
Forza 3. And
ODST.
ODST.
Oh, and ODST, of course.
But
Okay,
now
those are the
also
big ones right there.
on the Sony front, there's rumors that at Tokyo Game Show next week, we're going to find out that Gran Turismo 5's coming this year.
Right.
Still. So,
That would make sense.
but it's not like of years past where there's been some serious lineups from each of the third parties, or each of the first parties.
Right.
But
Yeah, but
there's-
I think like to Steve's points, like in what you said, like there's an amazing third party lineup, and there may not be a million strong first party games on each platform, but there's a really good game for each platform.
Yeah.
And add that to the third party stuff. It doesn't matter which console you own. Like there's going to be stuff you're jealous of. Like if I was just a 360 owner, I'd be jealous I wasn't playing Uncharted, but I've got ODST. Like there are strong first party offerings. There's just not that many of them, but there's a million third party offerings. Like,
Right.
it was really interesting this year that, and it's probably, I personally think it's due to the economy, the fact that so many games are coming out in, as we call it, second Christmas, right after the new year, when the kids get their holiday money from grandma, or they have the gift cards that they want to drop at
The kids,
GameStop.
I get the gift cards, and I'm like excited to go to Best Buy.
That's the best gift
That's why I
ever.
just tell my parents now. I'm like, I don't care, just
But
Best Buy.
everybody
We're
got
good.
the hell out of the way, and I think I could attribute it to the economy because people aren't spending as much money on these kind of purchases, and also the fact that the Halo and Modern Warfare effect, that game companies want to get the hell out of the way of those two juggernauts.
Right.
games are a big gamble these days, and it's proving more and more that the extra couple months you give a game of polish can really pay off in terms of getting you the word of mouth when you drop a demo or when the game's right out of the gate. And that's that's part of the motivation is like you need that couple extra months, and like that's good for the industry. It's good to have games that are coming out in January, February, March, April, May. Like that's the industry needs to move to a more Hollywood style cycle where maybe it's different styles of games come out at different parts of the years. Like the big shooters are always going to drop September, October, November, December. But that doesn't mean there aren't games that would make a whole lot of sense coming out and like it's going to take a couple years before the industry figures that out because it's happening by accident right now. It's just that they're moving out of the way of these big games, but soon that's going to be a model that they need to adopt just out of necessity. There's just not enough money to go around. Even when the economy bounces back, people are still going to be spending less or be more frugal or be more selective. And it makes more sense to push some of that out into different times.
But
So-
if the holiday season was pushed back a few months to early 2010, I would pick the PlayStation 3 as the strongest lineup because MAG, Heavy Rain, God of War 3.
Yeah, God of War 3. I'm so excited for it. But at the end of this year, I mean, for me, I 360 is I'm going to be playing Modern Warfare 2, actually in PC as well, I guess. 'Cause Modern Warfare 2, Left 4 Dead 2, which I'm super excited about, as everybody knows. And honestly, that's almost all I need. Because I know that I'm going to sink the rest of my year into almost just that. I play those games so much online. I mean, you're the big winner if you're the online multiplayer gamer this year, I think. So
It's true. All right,
agree.
we've got 2 games of the week this week. We're going to start with Guitar Hero 5, developed by Neversoft and published by Activision. Bobby Kotick. Patrick, you reviewed the game.
I did, and it is by far the best offering that Neversoft has put forward in the
Agreed.
Guitar Hero series so far. It's the most polished. It has its share of problems. The interface is still not there, but it has a really stellar lineup of songs. It's really polished. And yeah, I had a great time playing with it.
how do you mean the interface though? Because I found just going through menus, everything was so much easier. Being able to switch out guitar or bass like on the fly.
That
that
stuff
was a definite
it's,
improvement.
It's mostly like the fail, like where you need to be, where your eye needs to go to see where. I mean, this might just be symptomatic of the fact that I play a lot more Rock Band, but like in Guitar Hero 5, like the little spot where you need to find whether you're going to fail or how you're doing in the song, like is just a little bit off to the side of the note chart that it would take me a half a second to find it when I was playing, and that was long enough that I just wouldn't be looking at it. But I mean, that aside, like yeah, I mean, actually, one thing I noticed is that I liked the Guitar Hero 5 set list a lot more this time because it almost felt like a Rock Band set list. Like there's a real strong offering of like indie songs. Like you've got Sunny Day Real Estate. Like what is that doing in a Guitar Hero game?
It's a really strong track list, and the fact that now I've backloaded all of the content that you can from Smash Hits and from World Tour. I just have so many songs to play, and it makes me so happy. And at the same time, as soon as you go online and you start playing people, they choose the worst song in the game, and it's like, I swear to God, if I have to hear Bush one more time,
You're one of the only people I know that
someone.
plays a lot of online Guitar Hero. So what is the online playing pattern for Guitar Hero 5 people?
I've really been enjoying the online. The only problems are when you're trying to do band versus band, getting people into those games is near impossible.
Yeah.
I actually haven't been able to do it yet, and I've been trying almost every day. But playing the competitive modes online and playing like the Perfectionist, all the Rockfest stuff,
Yeah.
is awesome. I've been having so much fun with that. I've been doing pretty well.
Destroying people.
And they didn't.
you
they
act
didn't
modest
lie.
about
if you
your
play on
skills.
expert, you are matched up with people on expert, which is so nice.
Have you found people that are actually that can beat you?
Oh yeah,
Because
yeah.
you are the
Easily, yeah.
best, I think.
No.
fake guitar player I've seen.
There are people that can beat me
Okay.
and handily,
All right.
and because you get and they're like just like prodigy level. You're like, oh my God, how do you do it? But oh yeah, but that's super fun because I love the competition to it. I wish that it was a little. It's just whether people are playing or not, I guess. But
Right.
So what are some of your favorite tracks that you've played on GH5?
Oh, my favorite was probably the one of the later tiers has a like 12-minute Peter Frampton the song that he does the talk guitar, like I forget what it's called, but it's
Vocoder.
it's a live version of that, and it's boring as hell to play if you're on drums, on bass, or singing. But on guitar, the ability to like do the talking guitar is one of the coolest things I have ever done in a music game, and like it goes on forever and ever, and it's awesome. And that's probably was the highlight of me playing Guitar Hero 5.
oh, just being able, the challenges are so great because I've been going through.
Oh, yeah,
it's
the mini challenges
It's become
are
a
really
really,
cool.
it's become a really like single. I mean, some of them require band stuff, but just for me, like to go through and just push myself to get better and better at a lot of those is awesome. It's one of my favorite things, and it's got Sympathy for the Devil, which I love. I have to say about the track list, some of it is better on paper than it actually is to play. Some of those songs are kind of repetitive.
That's
it's like
true.
all along the Watchtower. I can expert perfect it and with my eyes closed.
Right.
It's very simple. It's the same, chart all the way down. And so while I love a lot of those songs, they aren't as fun in practice.
That's why I like the mini challenges, though, because the
Yes.
mini challenges make songs that are probably included just because they're good songs, not necessarily because they're great songs to play along to, but the mini challenges give you something to do
Yeah.
that kind of takes your eye off the fact that maybe the song isn't that interesting to actually
It
play.
makes it more than just a party game, and it makes it more than just a casual game. Those are really been pushing me, and I'm having a blast with it.
So you gave it 4 out of 5?
I get 4 to 5. And party mode, Rock Band, please copy it.
Yes.
By
That'd be
far, probably
fantastic.
one of the
Jukebox.
greatest innovations to happen to music games, like since the expansion to a full band set. Like party mode, the fact that the Guitar Hero 5 boots into party mode when it starts, you just
Yeah.
click a button, you just jump right in, you can dynamically change the difficulty.
Yeah,
Like,
we were
I'm-
talking about that
Yeah.
this past weekend.
Yeah, I'm
You're like,
always
"Oh."
I'm always going to end up going back to Rock Band because that's where my DLC is. But every time I busted out Guitar Hero 5 and played with that party mode, I was blown away how every other music game going forward needs to adopt
Yeah.
something like this.
Agreed.
So I finally sat down with both games this weekend. The previous weekend, and I started playing Guitar Hero 5. I'm like, I like the song list a lot. Kings of Leon being on there, I love that song. So I was like, sweet, get to play that. But then, and I was not a Beatles guy. So, and I'm
To have to rag on you about like
I
Rock
got
Band
so
U2
much
now.
crap.
Steve,
Hold on,
Steve,
hold on, hold
take
on
him
a
down.
second.
Take him down.
You know, I
I
knew
know.
the normal Beatles tracks, and I was like,
throw
okay,
stuff at him? I know,
awesome. And
exactly.
I
Like-
followed the game. Hold on, let me finish. So
Okay.
I,
Sorry, we're
I was
preparing
like,
our
okay,
torches
so like,
and
I
pitchforks.
played Guitar Hero for plenty of hours, and I was like, okay, it's more Guitar Hero, great. Okay, I've done this, and I like some of the changes, but whatever. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to throw in Beatles Rock Band, developed by Harmonix, published by EA, and this was one of the most fresh experiences I've had in the music game genre. Like I posted on Twitter, I was like, two things that I didn't think would happen. One, I would have a new love for the Beatles, and number two, I would have a newfound love reinvigorated for music games. And
There's
this
a
totally
lot of
happened
care
with this game to me.
and love in that one, and the just like the animations and the cinematics are so wonderful. And then it's not hard, but then they added all those achievements that are really hard for people like me. But it's really comparing it though with 5 is that Beatles to me is my party game. I don't play it by myself as much, and Guitar Hero to me now is back to, even though with a great party play mode, it's still back to my single player. Okay, how do I do that? Get through. And Beatles is like my okay party. Let's play Beatles.
now you reviewed the game for us. So what'd you? I'm curious. What did you think of the new instruments that they put out?
They're expensive. I like the Guitar Hero 5 guitar, and I think the Beatles instruments are beautiful. If I didn't have them, at work, and I had to make the decision to purchase them, I don't know if I would just on a monetary level. They are really awesome, and that long-necked bass
It's
is
super
hilarious.
cool.
It's
Yeah.
hilarious because for me, it's quite a stretch.
Right.
But other people who are much taller than me kept coming by and going, "This is awesome! I can reach and I don't have to move my hand for the." It was really funny. So hey, if you're really tall, it's really sweet.
What I love about Beatles 2 is it's the first music game I've played where no matter what song gets played, no matter how many times you play it, there's no audible groan of I don't want to.
Garden.
Like it's the first time where you've played.
Submarine.
Okay, there are many arguments within those, but like by and large, it's like the first music game where like every song is gold, and there's always unanimous. I mean, you have ones you like better than others, but it's always like, oh, it's that song again, and there's no. I mean. Yeah, you've never had a game where there's such unanimous agreement over the music being that good.
And speaking of that, because you gave, I got a lot of crap because I was like, really, I like the Beatles, but I wasn't like, yay, rah, ha, this is great. But like, there's a lot of songs that I kind of knew, but I'd never really listened to before. And now I'm like, holy crap, I need to stay away from the music shop because all these just came out again, and I could easily go and drop a couple $100.
To that point, most people that we were playing with be like, they wouldn't recognize the title of the song, but as soon as it started playing, they're like, "Oh, I know this one, and I know all the words." And
I think everybody is somehow born with the innate knowledge of every lyric
I
to
think
every
so.
Beatles song. But man, we were playing that at a party when it first came out, and I'm telling you, in my entire life of gaming, I've never had a greater moment than people being able to nail the 3-part harmonies
Mm-hmm.
in my living room with an entire room full of people singing "Little Help from My Friends." I mean, it was just like it
It's
gives
even
me
more
chills.
fun when people
it was
don't.
unbelievable.
And one thing I thought, a lot of people thought, oh, it's just going to be Rock Band with the Beatles, kind of like with Guitar Hero when they branded it with Aerosmith. But they really did some simple, small innovations that really moved the series forward. Like it sounds stupid, but just pushing the back button and doing no fail mode right away, or coming off a pause and there's a 3, 2, 1, like giving you some of that spacing. Like,
My bad that I love how the achievements are worked into the menus. That's like my favorite thing that people do in games now.
The details are perfect.
Yeah.
Like the very smallest things are perfect, from the studio chatter between songs that's actually recorded in the studio of the Beatles talking.
and the unlocks.
Brilliant. Like, fans are just like, the unlocks are amazing.
It
Like,
feels like I bought an
I wish
interactive.
there were
that's-
more of that. I mean, and especially with all this DLC coming on the way, it's like, really, you guys, you couldn't put that in the game? Like, you're gonna make me pay, $18 an album, past that? Like, that's very frustrating. And I wish that there were more videos and there were more photos. And I mean, I guess, and it's really through a sense of entitlement that I constantly rag on people about, but now I'm starting to feel it myself, which is that we've come to expect a lot more out of these games, and I realize that that Guitar Hero originally shipped with less tracks than that were mainly covers,
Right.
but now we've kind of shifted into the era where we really can expect more out of these games, and I don't think any of that is harmonics. It's all Apple. Come on, but it's still very frustrating, especially when it is a very, very, if you buy the bundle and you buy the instruments, it's a very expensive game.
yeah.
So 4 out of 5.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And that was the highest. I mean, honestly, I was so on the fence between, it was like 4.5 and do I go 5? Do I go 4? It's the Beatles. And that was such a hard call to make.
But somebody deserves to get smacked in the face for how expensive downloadable albums will be.
Yeah,
Just saying.
it's no, really. And it's so frustrating, especially given the economic climate this year. And I know it's frustrating.
Oh, wow. So I think we both agree that both games, or we all agree that both games are really good.
Very
this
good
week.
music game lineup.
That was a lot of fun. So, but that's going to do it for this week's show. You can catch feedback every week on g4tv.com as well as through the iTunes Music Store. And if you like the show, feel free to drop a review on iTunes. And next week, the show will not be on Thursday. It will be on Friday because we are coming to you from Tokyo, which is going to be a lot of fun. So, Patrick,
I'm
you're
gonna get
going.
lost.
Abby, you're going to
I'm
TGS.
Going. Yeah.
I'm staying
Am
home.
I going to be on feedback?
Yeah, speaking of Tokyo Game Show, we got to get back up to the office. So tomorrow's Friday. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.
See ya.